Good evening, my name's Jamie. I want to make a short video tonight because of the frustrations I'm having that I see in our society right now occurring, especially like in Ferguson, Baltimore, what occurred in New York with Eric Gardner, the racism. Just put it right out there, the racism that is occurring, and as a result, the violence that's occurring because people feel like their voices aren't being heard, and they feel like the only way they can lash back is through violence. And so I understand why the violence is taking place. I do not agree that it's justified, that people should be going into businesses and looting and breaking windows and hurting other people who didn't cause the death of a person. So we need to come together and relook at ourselves as a society, as people, and as people, as far as I know and still understand, we the people here in the US have control still. And that's the place where I'm coming from tonight. So I would encourage Baltimore, Ferguson, anywhere where we are encountering this problems of racism, the problems of police brutality. Because when a man who is able to walk before he is taken into police custody, and after that he is not able to walk, and then that is some serious police brutality, especially when it ended up in his death because of spinal injuries. And in the video I saw, Freddie was being dragged to the police van. So what did they do to Freddie before someone started recording Freddie being dragged to the van? Did they pick Freddie up and drop him on the concrete? That would certainly cause spinal injury. Because I remember, I think the mayor or the police chief, whatever, said, well, he didn't see any police brutality on the video. Well, yeah, because it probably was already done. You know, they probably threw him on the concrete and tossed him around, and that's why they had to drag him. That's why his leg was kind of dragging behind him when they took him to the van. And if he didn't have spinal injury before that, then that was one hell of a ride they gave him to the police station. So we have this problem with police brutality, and especially against black African American young men. It's getting all too the writing's on the wall. And it's like this is almost being set up because the elitists, just my opinion, because elitists want to keep us divided. Keep us divided in every way they can, from race to gender, because we struggle a lot here in the US with the gender binary system, from ageism, you name it. We the people here in the US have become so divided, and we're almost pitted against one another. And I think we need to really start waking up and seeing the big picture. And I think we need to do that now while we still have democracy here. Before our country maybe becomes a dictatorship or a socialist country. So while we have our voices, and I really suggest Baltimore, Ferguson, New York, all the states. People wake up and look, and I don't care whether it's a time to vote or not a time to vote. We can have an election anytime we feel it is necessary, because that is our right. So maybe we need to look at who's governing our states, our cities, and our country. And maybe it's time to clean house straight across the board. It's time to look at who's in charge of the law enforcement. It's time to vote them out. And we can keep changing that as long as we need to, until we get the right people where we think they belong. And it's time to relook at how we pay our government leaders. Maybe they're too complacent, and maybe we need to quit the bribery that's going on behind the walls, and everybody is oblivious to it. So let's fix our society. And let's not be so hasty to call people names when we don't understand what they are going through, what they are struggling with. Just because one of the news media that I was watching the other night, I hate to bring in race, but I think the woman was a white anchor, calling the people that were looting the stores in Baltimore and burning them down, called them thugs. Really? Do you understand maybe what they're going through? Do you ever feel like their voices aren't being heard? And then you just added fuel to the fire by calling them thugs? Maybe you should walk a day in their shoes. Oh, I know. You can't change your skin color. You're not black. You're not brown. You were white. Easy to call them a thugs. You pretty much have a privileged life. You forget the struggles that women have gone through, I guess, when you made that comment. I don't think we should be calling people names. I don't think we should be considering all sides of what is happening and looking at maybe what causes people to do what they're doing. Yes, there will always be people that want to cause trouble, but in this instance, maybe they feel like their voices aren't being heard, and the problem keeps being ignored, and they figure, you know what, this is the action they're going to take. And I'm not justifying their actions for breaking down stores and setting them afire. No, that doesn't help either, but just try to imagine maybe what they could be going through. Maybe this, if we could wake up as people and see the problems that we have, try to fix it in our own world, in our own land, our own country. Because I feel like we have a lot of problems right now. So we need to call an election. Make elections happen. Get rid of whoever is not doing their jobs. Get rid of the law enforcement who are not doing their jobs. So if the chief of police in your area is not doing his job, it's time to get him out of there. Whether it's a year for an election or not, it doesn't matter. You hold that election. We still have the power. As far as I know, These are still our streets. This is still our land, we the people. We get to dictate who's in office. Don't let them dictate how we are to be governed. Before it's too late, we may have a dictatorship. Do you know starting July 15th through September 15th, there is a military exercise that will be taking place here in the U.S. in at least 7, maybe 10 of the states? Why are we allowing this to occur? Because look at what's happening to Baltimore. Right now they're almost in a martial law state. They have a curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. How easy something can go wrong, and those 7 or 10 states that the military's in, martial law could be in place in 1 second. So we the people need to stop this right now. We need to wake up and start changing. We need to figure ways to solve this problem of racism. We need to get to tables and start talking across the table and with each other instead of yelling and accusing each other. We need to start understanding other people's struggles and what they may be going through that's causing them to act the way they do. Maybe we need to come up with a way to start really educating our young people. We need to find a way to fix the homelessness rates that's occurring, and more people finding themselves without homes to live into. It's no wonder why young black men don't see any hope in our country, don't see a future. And so to them, maybe the only way to feed their family is by going and robbing that store. Maybe for them, they feel like if they're burning down a building, their voice might be heard. Oh, yeah. It's easy just to call them a thug and not to understand where they're coming from. I guess that's when you're sitting in a place of privilege, it's easy to do that. I hope and pray, because as far as I know, I'm also living in a country that was founded by this wonderful, loving God that I serve. And yet, we seem to be losing that too in some respects, because everybody wants to silence the voice of a Christian voice. Now, I am not a fundamentalist by means. And I know I am hated by the fundamentalists because they believe I am a sinner. And when they love to use that comment, we love you but we hate the sin, you're just flat out telling me that you hate me. So maybe we need to start looking at these churches that are preaching the hateful message and start walking out of those churches and find churches that are really preaching the good news. Maybe our society would be better off. Maybe spiritual leaders need to wake up and let's talk about what's in front of us. Let's talk about the problems that we have in our society here in the U.S. And let's keep it in the U.S. for now, because I think we need to fix our own problems in our own country. How can we help some other country if we can't even fix our own problems? Amazing. We try to fix the world's problems, and yet we have plenty in our own backyard. maybe it's time to start talking about the ugly truth of racism, and let's get it out there. Let's lay everything on the table. I know. Truth can hurt, huh? Well, I think it's time we need to wake up and start looking at the truth. Because the US right now is not the best. We are falling apart, and I think people want to ignore it. We're too busy and caught up in our own little lives, rushing off to work, making that mighty, mighty dollar. I wonder how long the dollar will be around. I don't know. Well, I think I'm done ranting for tonight. I think it gives you enough thoughts. Let's think about where we're heading. Until next time.